Okay, and up first, we've got, as far as main topics are concerned, we've got Nevermind. And what's interesting about Nevermind, its tagline is a biofeedback horror adventure game. And I guess the first thing that brought me, that kind of popped out about Nevermind for me is that Nevermind is actually using hardware technology to sense your feedback while playing this game. It's a sensor that goes across your chest, and its goal is to create a very different survival horror experience. It kind of teaches the player too how to be more aware of how they react to stressful situations, and in survival horror, there's a lot of these stressful situations. We kind of get anxious. Our heart will beat faster, and having a sensor kind of trigger game elements based on how we feel and how we're enacting with the game is really interesting for me. They haven't released a whole bunch of audio. There is some imagery. There is some rendered footage that's included. Currently, this is a Kickstarter game. They're asking for a pledge goal of $250,000. They've got 24 days to go. 835 backers currently. And they've got 35,000, so they've got some room to go, and I'm not quite sure exactly. I believe this is just one woman working on this, and she's Erin Reynolds from Los Angeles. But I mean, does anybody else? What does everybody think about this? I mean, the idea that your entire gameplay experience may change based on how your person are reacting to it. Anybody? What does everybody think about this project?
Well, I would say that that it sounds definitely interesting. It might be a huge gameplay innovation, as there's like a few in line, I guess, with more augmented games and stuff coming up in the next few years, probably. But on the other hand, this is a genre which is already quite popular, and there have been really good games for that. So sometimes I go kind of by the philosophy of never touch a running system, right? So I could see this going both ways. I could see this adding to the gameplay experience, but I could also see that it maybe is something that's actually taking away from the experience.
And that's exactly what I'm thinking too. I guess you'd have to, if we take this. I know Cloudjumper's done a little bit of programming, so if we think about like the effort that's going into the data that's being kept from our bodies and how it's actually being used to implement changes in the game, it seems like quite a bit of time would have to go into this, and it either is going to be fantastic or it's not going to work at all, or it's going to impact the user experience in some way that could be negative. So I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, if it's correct that this is actually being developed by just one person, that would be incredible, because from what it looks like, it's hard to imagine for me. Either if it is just one person, she must sit like incredibly long at this, or she must have like 6 arms to code with or something like that.
There's a team. There's a small team. It looks like there's 4 people on the team right now.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing it. Okay, so that looks more realistic. Yeah, because I was wondering, are these 250,000 maybe for arm extensions or whatever? Yeah, and then like, I mean, the game looks, from the little footage that there is, it looks fairly complex graphically. Also in the terms of, it looks a little bit like that the graphics are actually going to respond to whatever is captured from this sensor. So I can imagine that takes quite a bit of development time for that to work smoothly, or a lot of patches going after that thing comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they've got, looks like the team is Aaron, like you said, is Aaron Reynolds. She's the creative director, artist, and designer. We have this guy named Greg Hilgas, and he's a project manager and designer. We've got this Michael Ayanetta. He's doing R&D, and he's actually the one who's in charge of applying this technology to the gameplay.
Cool.
Derek Baird, who's a composer, and then, of course, we have Cats.
That's where the extra hands for coding come in.
That's right.
Cats on the keyboard.
Hands on that keyboard. But
Yeah.
so, yeah, and I guess you don't have to have it to play. It's going to be Mac and PC, but having that hardware isn't necessarily required.
Yeah, they seem to be trying to support as many of these off-the-shelf heart rate sensors as possible. The one they mention a lot in the pitch is the Garmin heart sensor, which you see the guy strapped himself. Yeah, it's always a little tricky when a game will require you to have additional hardware to play. We're seeing a lot of Kickstarter projects now that are saying, oh, this is going to work with Oculus Rift, or Oculus Rift is going to be a stretch goal if we hit it. And even though we're talking about open platform, which is like PC or Linux, Mac, it's not a console, it's still that extra barrier, that extra hoop to jump through when you're requiring someone to actually plug something in to play a game, where the normal state of things is that you just fire up a game and you just start playing, right? And they do have sort of like a plan B in place, where it's like you can play the game without the heart rate sensor, but how they describe it just doesn't sound that compelling. They're going to try and, detect your mouse movements or how you actually move in the game world and simulate the feedback that way. But, that's not really the prime selling point of this game. It seems like the prime selling point is, yeah, this game is going to read your heartbeat and it's going to react to you. So if they fall down on that goal, on that directive, it's like I don't really see how they can really succeed. But I like the idea, right?
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of, do you guys remember that Nintendo Vitality sensor? It was like a little add-on that was going to go on your finger. I don't think it ever was released, right? But I kind of start thinking about that.
Is it like the printer? The Game Boy printer?
Failed Nintendo add-ons, yeah.
Failed Nintendo add-ons.
I'm also surprised to see that, like, in the team description, there's really no programmer, is there? Like, who's gonna write this game?
Yeah, I'm guessing this is the Greg guy, the project manager / designer. He says he does level and puzzle design.
One person as for program something like that seems not like a lot, but maybe they're outsourced. That also is a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, I would say. But yeah, other than that, obviously for me as a composer and a sound designer, in this campaign, especially something that is so emotionally heavy, I would love to have a little more sound footage in the campaign. Something where I can see, okay, is this actually going to scare me? Because if it doesn't, then the heart rate sensor is not going to read much from me anyways. So knowing that sound is what creates emotion, I want to know something of the sound of this game. Not saying that it looks very interesting to me, and especially if this, what was the composer's name again? Well, however, if this person does a really good job at it, I could see this being a game that I actually might end up backing or something, because it could be really cool. But it feels to me like they're giving me a bit too little of media input before they could convince me 100% to back something like this.
Mm-hmm. I do like the visuals that they're showing off. It looks really surreal, and it gives you a feeling of being really unbalanced. Like you're kind of walking through this crooked hallway at one point. There's like a picture of all these houses that just look like they're falling all around. Really creepy stuff. But I agree that, the music for any horror game, the sound is that's gonna cause a lot of the scares and a lot of your jumps in heart rate. I think. I think of like the movie Psycho, and what you see in that isn't super scary, but when you hear the shrieking, like violin come in, that's what really like makes people jump.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little bit. I agree. A little bit more focus on that would have helped.
For sure. Any final thoughts on Nevermind?